So, was the 20th century a story of incredible human achievement, or was it a story of catastrophic moral failure? I mean, that's a question that really gets to the heart of our modern world, and the answer, according to historian A.C. Ward, is, well, it's both. Let's dive into that spectacular contradiction.
So here's the central paradox of the 20th century, right? Humanity achieved this absolutely stunning mastery over the physical world. But think about it. The same engine that gave millions of us the freedom to travel, that's the same technology that made mass slaughter from the air a terrifying reality. And nuclear power. I mean, it promised this utopia of unlimited energy. But at the same time, it dangled the threat of total annihilation right over our heads. It was a century defined by this constant, grinding tension between incredible progress and just devastating regress.
Okay, so to really get a handle on the explosion that was the 20th century, we have to rewind a bit. We have to look at the world it was rebelling against, the Victorian era. And you got to understand, this was a world that thought it had it all figured out. It saw itself as, well, final, permanent. Like society was built on these absolutely unshakable foundations. So what were these foundations? Well, the Victorians pretty much built their entire world on four massive pillars: the home, the Constitution, the empire, and the Christian religion. But here's the key thing, the crucial part. They didn't see these as things that could change or evolve. Nope. To them, these were final, absolute truths. There was this intense belief in authority, a real desire to just agree and confirm things, not to question them. But oh boy, that was all about to change.
And you know who really captured this feeling of everything just shattering? The writer H.G. Wells. For thinkers like him, that solid, permanent house that was Victorianism was just gone. He had this incredible line where he said, "The world ceased to be a home and became the mere site of a home on which we camped." It's just, wow. Suddenly, that feeling of being at home in the world, that sense of stability, it was just gone.
And that feeling, that loss of home, is what brings us to the Great Revolt. See, the new century didn't just walk in quietly. It kicked the door down with this powerful new creed, championed by thinkers who believed that absolutely nothing should be accepted on faith. The new watchwords were simple: question, examine, test, everything.
And if there was one person sounding the trumpet call for this new age, it was George Barnard Shaw. His point was just electric, and it was so simple. Why are we so eager to scrap our old, obsolete steam engines, but so terrified to even re-examine our old prejudices, our old ideas about morality and religion? I mean, that was a direct shot, a total challenge to the entire Victorian way of thinking.
And a challenge like that, well, it basically split society right down the middle. On one hand, for some people, this was just incredibly liberating, finally a chance to think for themselves. But for the other half, it was absolutely terrifying. Imagine, the solid ground you've been standing on your entire life just starts to reel and crumble right under your feet. It left this huge spiritual vacuum.
And you know where else you can see this deep, deep division? In the world of literature. It created two completely different camps, two philosophies about what art was even for. Was it supposed to be a tool for changing the world, or was it something else, something separate from all the messy business of life?
All right, so on one side, you have what was called the Fabian Group. Think writers like Shaw and H.G. Wells. Their whole motto was art for life's sake. For them, literature was a tool, something you use for social and political reform, and it was aimed at the common person. But then on the other side, you had the Bloomsbury Group, folks like Virginia Woolf. Their motto, art for art's sake. For them, art was this high-minded, intellectual, and aesthetic thing, something for a small, elite audience.
Now, the year 1922, that marks a really crucial turning point. When James Joyce's Ulysses and T.S. Eliot's The Waste Land came out, it was like the art for art's sake camp just won. Literature suddenly and very deliberately became difficult. It became intellectual, almost contemptuous of the average reader. It basically retreated from the public highroad, as the historian A.C. Ward puts it, into an esoteric fastness, a private fortress. Okay, so while all the highbrow literature was locking itself away in an ivory tower, society itself was going through this massive, massive transformation. This era was being called the century of the common man. But let's ask the question, was it really about empowering the individual, or was something else going on? So after the wars, you get the rise of the welfare state, and it produced this really strange, totally unexpected paradox. The promise was amazing: Social Security, full employment, fair shares for all. And the reality? In a lot of ways, it worked.
It created a really affluent society with huge material benefits for millions. But here's the twist. Instead of widespread happiness, what you got was this weird, sullen discontent. People weren't happy. And the result of that? A brand new culture of consumerism, of keeping up with the Joneses, all fueled by an advertising industry that knew exactly how to tap into that deep desire to have more and show it off.
So what do you think happens when a whole generation grows up in this new world? A world with all the material comfort you could want, but this huge spiritual emptiness? Well, you get a new kind of rebellion. But the question is, what were they even rebelling against? Were they just rebels without a cause?
This is what gave rise to movements like the Beatniks. Their solution to a society they saw as completely phony and debased wasn't to try and fix it, nope, it was to reject it completely. They basically chose to contract out of the whole system, throwing respectability out the window for a life on the road, deliberately embracing what the mainstream world saw as just squalor and vice.
And so here we are, right back at our original question. The 20th century no doubt delivered on its promise of incredible material progress. We got the welfare state, mass mobility, all of it. But as we've seen, all that progress came with a pretty steep cultural price tag.
The final accounting, at least according to the historian A.C. Ward, was pretty stark. You know, the idea of individual craftsmanship, it got lost to the assembly line. Art that was about beauty got replaced by anti-art. Thoughtful, sharp satire, it kind of devolved into cheap, witless ridicule. And those old Victorian virtues like modesty and good manners, they were tossed aside, seen as signs of weakness in this new, brasher world.
And that leaves us with this final big question. Look, the 20th century absolutely shattered the old rulebook, no question about it. But in doing so, did it actually create a better game? Or, and this is the real kicker, in its mad rush to tear everything down, did it just forget how to play at all?